Hi, and welcome to Mr. Wilson Teaches Glass Etching. Today I'm going to show you the process of using armor etch, which is a cream that etches into glass when applied. There's lots of ways you can do this. You could technically just paint it right on the glass, you can frost the whole thing, or you can use stencils, stickers, there's tons of methods. Today I'm going to show you using contact paper, applying it to the piece itself, cutting out shapes, and then applying the cream on using that method. There's a couple things you'll need. You can just use a regular glass jar, so this is one of the finished ones, and I put a candle as well as some bells and bow around. So you can just use a regular jar as long as it has that flat edge on it, or you can take a bottle and cut it. So I'm going to show you the bottle cutting. So I have a bottle cutter here, an empty bottle, safety materials, so glasses, gloves. You're going to need an armor etch, which you can buy right online at Amazon or TickBlick, and you're going to apply with a brush and have a plate. You're also going to need regular contact paper. Any contact paper works. I just happen to have see-through. It makes it a little easier. You're going to need a razor, Sharpie, and some scissors to size everything up. So I'll take you to the next step, and we'll start by cutting up the bottle and then sanding it down and going from there. Okay, so this is what the finished project looks like. So you can see all the etched in. Got a tree, a house. This frosted area is the part that was etched in. All these little attachments you can just add on, but it does make it a lot easier if it's a flat edge. So the one I'm going to be using is an empty bottle. So they sell these wine cutters you can get online, and they work very similar to what you would use in stained glass when you use the glass cutter. So it's got a diamond bit there that's going to cut it, and then all of these are just to hold it in place and let it roll around. So the first thing you're going to do is size it. So make sure it's actually the size you want. So I'm going to bring it in just a little bit so this can be adjusted, brought up, retightened down. And I want to make sure it goes onto a flat area. And then you're going to apply the pressure and you're going to rotate. Now when scoring glass, it's best just to do one solid line and be confident about it. The more lines you get in, the harder it is to break, because that break will foul a couple different areas. So you just want to do one full circle and press down, and you'll be able to hear the noise and also see it. So as it starts coming around here, you'll see that line starting to appear. And the goal is for the whole crack to happen on this line. So you know you've done one full rotation, so you don't hear it anymore, it's scoring. So that's the area it's going to snap off on. So the next step, we'll show you over near the sink, the snapping of the glass. Okay, so we're over by the sink, and we're going to be using a temperature change to crack the glass. So when the glass gets heated up, and then you put it into the cold water right after, it creates the crack, and then it slowly but surely breaks free. If you read the manual on the bottle cup opener, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The one they suggest is taking boiling water, pouring the boiling water onto the glass, and then going back and forth between the cold and the boiling, so it slowly, gradually breaks free. For time reasons, I'm going to be using the other method, which is taking a flame, heating it rapidly, and then putting it right into the cold water. So you can do this with a candle, so it's easier if it's going there, and then you just rotate it around, submerge it right into the cold water as the faucet runs, and that should snap free. So we're going to give that a try. You probably won't be able to hear me talk because I'm going to have the water on. So I'm going to start by using the blowtorch. I'm going to heat up the sides of it, and then I'm going to put it right into the cold water, and then hopefully you'll hear that crack and be able to see it drop off. How easy it is. Okay, now that our bottle's cracked, you can see it followed that line. You'll rarely ever get a really perfect cut, and regardless of if the cut is perfect, you're going to have to sand it. So you want to get rid of the sharp edge if there's any areas that are standing up. So to do that, you're going to wet some sandpaper. You want it wet so it gets that abrasion, and then spin it in a circle and try to keep it flat. And we're slowly getting rid of all those little ridges and getting rid of all the sharpness on it. I'm going to fast forward ahead. Once this is done, I'll show you what the frosted looks on it. Okay, so I just finished sanding this. You can see the top, all this white area, that's the frosted area that I just cut off using the sandpaper, and that's how you know that it's rough. and that it won't cut you. So you can also test it. Just make sure that there's no shiny parts left on there, and that's going to be the safest way to do this. And then you can start the etching after all that's done now that our bottle's prepped. And again, like I said, you can just start with the jar. They actually make vessels that are made for this too, but this is the economical way, and if you want to create something using those leftover bottles, this is the route we take. Alright, the next step for this project is measuring out the bottle using the contact paper. So we're going to use, let's see, maybe this way would be best. Roll and get a sheet to work with. And these aren't exactly the easiest things to work with because they hold that shape. I'm going to start by cutting it and deciding how long it needs to be. I'm going to have this fit the whole bottle. And it's okay if it goes a little off. And we do want to make sure that it overlaps too, so that every area is covered up. And we're going to roll it onto it. We're going to mark where that overlap is, so just leave a little bit of space. And then you're going to cut that off, and then we'll move to the designing phase. Okay, we're now in the designing phase, so I've laid out, this is measured to the bottle, or the vessel, and I'm going to draw in which scene I want. So I'm going to do a winter scene. I'm going to start with my snowbank, so all this is going to be frosted right here. Come up a little more. And put the shape of a snowman. You don't want anything too intricate. If you get too crazy, then you won't be able to cut it out, so that's something to keep in mind too. I'm going to also put in a pine tree here. Do a smaller one right here. And pick a couple areas where I can have the snow come through. And there's a basic design. Once the design is done, we're going to apply it to the bottle. You're going to take your design off the table, and I just tape this down. It's a lot easier to work with, as this will roll up on you and you can see the whole thing at once. And you're going to peel part of the edge. Maybe. And you're going to apply it to the bottle. And the goal is to try to do this with the least amount of air bubbles you can. So we don't want any air bubbles. That makes it very difficult to cut and to etch. So sometimes it takes a couple tries to make sure you get it right. See that overlap there? Now we know that none of it is showing. I'm just going through and getting out air bubbles, pushing them out to the edge. And you can use a credit card to do this. And then our design is applied. The next step is the cutting. I'm taking the razor and I'm going to cut out all these areas that I don't want to stay there. So using the edge of the razor, holding it at an angle, I'm going to start by following this line. Oops. Lucky for me, it's just a snowbank. This is a little easier to do when it's not facing this motion. So normally I would have this held at a different angle. Then you have to peel off each part. Alright, so there's that bottom snowbank. Then I'm going to start doing each little design. So just working the tool around and getting rid of piece by piece each of the things that I then want to be frosted. So I'm going to skip ahead to once this is all done and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so my design's been cut out and I'm now ready for the actual etching cream. I'm going to start by putting some gloves on. So remember, this is a chemical, just to give you an idea of what it can do to you. It eats through glass, so you do want to protect yourself. Make sure that you're wearing some gloves, safety goggles, protective clothing if you're worried about that. And this is supposed to be the consistency of mayonnaise. So when you apply this on, you don't want to be able to see through the glass. I'm going to put my hand inside of it, and then you're going to apply it so that it has that thickness of mayonnaise. Like I said, everywhere this touches, that's what's going to get etched. And the rest of the bottle should stay protected through the use of that contact paper. Now you could do this the reverse way. So it's possible to just apply stickers to it or cut out shapes. So I could have cut out the shape of a snowman and put it right on. This company also sells stencils. So you can order online lettering and tons of different things to apply and put right on, and it pretty much does the work for you. I'm also going to etch the bottom of it too. I'm going to flip this over and add some here. And the timing for this is 10 minutes. So you need to let it set for 10 minutes for it to do the full amount of etching. Now it's okay if you let it sit a little longer. It's not okay if you don't let it sit long enough. So better to err on the side of too long than too short. Alright, I think I got them all there. Just going to go through and make sure all the areas are covered. Alright, now we're going to let this sit for the 10 minutes, and I'll bring you back and show you the cleaning process. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. That means this armor etch should have had time to do what it needs to do. So when you clean this out, you're going to do 2 rinses. You're going to do one in a separate bucket, followed by one in the sink to get the final clean. So I'm going to start just by submerging it. And using the same brush that I applied the armor etch on, I'm just going to start cleaning it off. And you won't actually be able to notice the etching until it's dry again. So a lot of people's first reaction as soon as they start to do this is it didn't work. But it did. You just need to dry it, and then you'll see where all that etching took place. Because when it's wet, it doesn't show up. You can also do this with your hand. I like to use the brush first and just try to get rid of the majority of the etch off. And then I'll use my hands with the glove to get the rest of it. So you can see if you look at the bottle, it really doesn't look like it worked. So you can't tell anywhere that it's been etched. Like I said, you just gotta dry it. I'm now going to bring this over to the big sink, give it another rinse. And while I'm rinsing it in that sink, I'm also going to unapply, take off the contact paper so that I can give it an even better rinse now that most of the chemicals are gone. Okay, so I've completely now cleaned the piece, and as you can see, it's very hard to tell if it even worked. So we're going to dry it off. There was water in the inside here too. And as you dry this, the image should start to appear. Alright, so you can see that the etching was successful. We've got our snowflakes, our 2 trees we put in, as well as our snowman. And then the next step would be adding on any additional things. So you could use them as candle holders, glasses. I've tied things on there. So there's tons of stuff you can do with it. Hope you enjoyed. Best of luck. And this does work on any type of glass, any color. So hope you do good. Comment below and like us and subscribe us if you haven't.